Welcome back to Munroe's Corner. We back with another reaction. Today we got some more Thomas Sowell. This is Thomas Sowell and Jordan Peterson Must Watch Part 2. We did Part 1, so if you'd like to go watch that after this one, then I appreciate it. All right, so let's get into it, man. Road to 50K. If you enjoyed this reaction, before you leave, give me a like for the algorithm and subscribe for the channel growth. All right, let's get into it.
If you would like more people to learn about the work of Dr. Thomas Sowell, please like and subscribe. It helps more than you can imagine. To get all the materials, quotes, and free citations of Dr. Thomas Sowell like the one you find on the screen, visit the website and get them all for free. Welcome to the second part of the presentation. This video serves as a reminder to parents that they need to take full responsibility over their children's education. Watch where you send your children to learn.
I would say as well, more specifically, and this is specific advice for parents, if you have your children in a school and they talk about equity, and there's a class and they talk about equity, diversity, inclusivity, white privilege, systemic racism, any of that, you take your children out of the class.
I agree. Like I was saying in the Candace Owens video, school is supposed to teach these kids, these students, the proper tools and equip them with the proper tools to be able to survive in the real world. All this other agenda-based BS, you know what I'm saying? That got to go. Like, how's that going to help me get a job? How is that supposed to help me function in life? You know what I mean? If anything, you're programming me to think a certain way. You know? It's crazy.
They're not being educated, they're being indoctrinated. And there's absolutely no excuse for it.
I agree with that completely. You might run out of schools pretty quickly, though, here in this country.
That would be just fine. The sooner the better.
Jordan Peterson, it's hard to express my gratitude to you for telling the truth as you do.
Institutionalized.
Everything I've seen and heard makes me convinced that children need to learn about porn so they can understand the risks and put it into context. But most schools don't want to teach it.
Did I hear that correctly?
Partly put it into context. Need to learn about porn so they can understand the risks and put it into context. But most schools...
What? You want to introduce these kids to porn so they can learn?
Schools don't want to teach it. Partly because it's so controversial, but also because they can have so much trouble teaching even the most basic sex education.
I would allow their parents to have a choice of where to send them to school, whether that choice is called a voucher scheme, open enrollment, tuition tax credit, any kind of scheme of that sort that would put that power in the hands of their parents, mainly because that would mean that the schools would have to be responsive to them. As it is now, the school is a monopoly. They need not be responsive. I have relatives right here in New York whom I've had to intervene for because the schools would not even treat them decently, much less give them access to the information they wanted that they were entitled to under the law.
If you put it in the hands of the parents, and the parents are themselves uneducated and not really aware of what the various potentials are, what makes you think that they would decide more intelligently than the present system?
I think, again, history. As blacks emerged from slavery, a minute percentage could read or write, and yet in half a century, over half the black population was literate. An economic historian has called that one of the most remarkable things in history. If you look back to the era prior to the Civil War, when there were free blacks about...
They taught themselves. They taught themselves. They didn't need the schools to teach them. They taught themselves. They taught themselves how to function properly in society. They taught themselves the tools they needed in life. Why we need schools to do that? We can do it ourselves. We got to raise our children and don't depend on the schools to raise them for us. We don't need to depend on the schools to give them all the tools they need in life. We have to do that. We have to do that as parents. We have to teach these kids. We have to raise these kids. We have to check on what these kids are learning. We have to check on what these kids are being taught. We have to check on what these kids are being brainwashed. Because they're brainwashing and being institutionalized. Schools, churches, all that, man.
About 500,000 in the United States. They not only were not allowed in the public schools, they were in some states forbidden even to send their children to private schools and had to do so clandestinely. And yet the census of 1850 showed that most free blacks could read and write. So I don't think that the fact that people have little education means that they are in any way poorer judges than distant bureaucrats who have their own access to grind and run the public school system.
When porn is something so many kids are being exposed to, I can see why people like Lynette.
This is a BBC documentary.
When porn is something so many kids are being exposed to, I can see why people like Lynette say schools need to adapt what they teach to keep up with that. But just how young should the process start? I'm about to get a shock.
I'm slightly surprised because when we said we were going to school, I didn't know it would be primary. I mean, these are kids who are sort of 10 and under, and we're having a sex education lesson today. It's going to be, I mean, the kids are going to be learning about pornography, which is slightly terrifying that there is even a need to educate such young children about porn.
I'd be enraged. I ask my, you know how pissed I'd be. I ask my son, what do you learn every day in school? I'd be pissed. Come out, he learned about he in there watching doggone Lexington Steel and Pinky going at it. My son should not be watching Wesley Pipes and doggone Cherokee Deep. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's insane. No.
This should be interesting.
I will teach my kids about the birds and the bees, okay? Sex education we had in school, that was good. That was cool. It scared it scared the crap out of me when they showed me all those. But you just talking about full-on porn.
And then I discover that it's the year ones, 5-year-olds, who'll be getting this lesson.
What? Come on, man. This, yo, I'm like, wow.
Plenty that's rotten in the state of Denmark, and I'm embarrassed to state that a tremendous amount of that stems from the universities, and they're in bad shape. Do not send your children to the humanities, right? They're corrupt. They will... They won't learn to think because the postmodernists don't believe in thinking. They won't learn logic because the postmodernists believe that logic is one of the tools that the oppressive patriarchy uses to sustain its oppressive patriarchy, oppressive patriarchal nature. They won't learn to write. Well, that's because teaching people to write takes a tremendous amount of effort, and perhaps they're not so much interested in teaching people to formulate their own thoughts precisely and carefully as they are interested in producing cult-like clones to go out and do their activist work, which is precisely what they state on their website.
Yes.
So, you know...
Yes, they're producing cult-like clones to carry out their agenda. You got to get them while they're young. Yes, that's what they're doing.
Things are not so pretty. And it's very embarrassing as a member.
It's going to be hard to reprogram them. You know what I'm saying? When you catch them young, it's going to be hard to reprogram them.
of the academy, and to come before a group of public citizens and say, you've been betrayed by your institutions of higher learning. It's sad. It's sad, and it's not good. And you think, well, it's just a university, it's just an ivory tower. It's like, think again, man. What happens in the universities happens everywhere 5 years later. So it's no mere ivory tower.
It's hard for me to understand what harm is going to be done by allowing parents to have a choice as compared to having self-interested bureaucrats have a monopoly.
Yeah. Facts, man. Give us the choice. Give us the choice. We want to educate the way we want to educate letters. We've done it before. We've done it before schools were even put in place. So what's the big deal now? Because like you said, they want to create clones to carry out their agendas. And what better way to do that through the school system, where they learn, where they go to learn. That was crazy. That was a good one. That was a good one. That was a good one. Yeah, I like that one. That was a good one. I hope y'all watched this one, man. Yeah. That was a good one. Wow. So my question to y'all is, what should we, how do we go about getting rid of this agenda in the school systems? How do we go about it? Like, what are some things we should do? Because they keep pushing it heavy. They keep pushing it heavier and heavier now. As you know, government don't want something, the government gonna shut stuff down. You know what I'm saying? And they're letting these agendas being pushed for a reason. So what can we do to fight this? Let's talk about it in the comments, man. All right. If you enjoyed this reaction, give me a like for the algorithm and subscribe for the channel growth. We're on the road to 50K, trying to do it by Independence Day. All right, man. Y'all peace out, one love. Y'all have a great day today.